following video is intended for mature audiences. It contains horror elements, adult themes, and language that might not be suitable for younger viewers. Eternity, nestled in the depths of Raven's Valley, shrouded by a perpetual veil of mist, lay the abandoned Blackwood Station. Local legend spoke of a ghostly train that appeared only at midnight, carrying souls to damnation. I'd dismissed these stories as folklore until I found Annie's journal, its final entry dated the night she vanished. I've found it, the gateway they spoke of, the train calls to those who've touched death and survived. Tonight, I'll finally understand why we lived when others died. 5 years ago, we'd survived the crash that killed our parents. The SUV hydroplaned on the rain-slicked mountain road, crashing through the guardrail. As we plunged toward the ravine below, Annie grabbed my hand. For 3 endless seconds, we hung suspended between life and death. Then rescue workers pulled us out. Mom and Dad weren't so lucky. Annie never accepted it was just chance that spared us. She became obsessed with near-death experiences, with bridges between worlds. She spent countless hours in libraries and online forums, connecting with others who'd brushed against death's fingers and lived. I'd written off her research as grief-driven madness until I found her carefully documented evidence. Disappearances spanning centuries, all linked to the old railway line. All were survivors of deadly accidents seemingly drawn to the tracks like moths to flame. The station appeared frozen in time, its Victorian architecture untouched by decay. The air felt thick and electric, and the scent of ozone mixed with something sweeter, more cloying, like flowers left too long on a grave. As midnight approached, I heard it, a whistle that bore through my skull like an ice pick. The sound resonated with something inside me, awakening memories of the crash, screeching metal, shattering glass, Annie's hand gripping mine as we dangled above the abyss. At that moment between impact and rescue, I'd seen something, a darkness deeper than night and filled with watching eyes. The train emerged from the fog like a nightmare taking form. Its black metal surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating a void in the shape of a locomotive. Steam hissed from its stack, but something was wrong. The train moved against gravity and the windows pulsed with a sickly green luminescence that revealed the flickering shadows of passengers with movements too fluid to be human. What the hell? An unseen force pulled me toward the nearest car. The door opened with a hiss of stale air, revealing an interior that defied physical space. The carriage stretched impossibly long, its walls rippling like heat waves over summer asphalt. Plush velvet seats lined both sides, each occupied by a figure that seemed more suggestion than substance. As I moved down the aisle, the passengers turned to face me. Their features were blurred as if viewed through frosted glass, but I recognized the hollow-eyed look of trauma survivors. Each had cheated death, and death had followed them here. A woman in dated clothing clutched a newspaper reporting the Eastland disaster, water still dripping from her 1915 dress. A man in military fatigues bore dog tags from Vietnam, shrapnel wounds weeping shadows instead of blood. A child in singed pajamas hugged a teddy bear, smoke still rising from its fur. Their eyes bore into me, filled with a hunger that mirrored my desperate desire for answers. The train lurched forward, reality distorting around us as we left normal space behind. Through windows that no longer reflected the outside world, I glimpsed impossible landscapes. Cities built from bone and sinew, oceans of liquid darkness, skies peppered with watching eyes. Your sister understood. A voice came from everywhere and nowhere. She sought power over death itself. We offered her transformation instead. A figure materialized in the seat across from me. It wore Annie's face like an ill-fitting mask, her features stretched too wide over something ancient and unexplainable. But her eyes, they were still her eyes, green as summer leaves, filled with the manic gleam I remembered from her final months. Death isn't an end, she said, her voice harmonizing with others. It's a door. Those who survive its touch carry a key. We've waited centuries for enough keys to turn the lock, to break down the barrier between life and death itself. The other passengers rose in unison, their forms melting and blending like wax. Annie, or the thing wearing her face, reached for me with hands that elongated into shadowy tendrils. Her skin rippled, revealing glimpses of what she'd become, something vast and dark and hungry. Join us, brother. Help us break the barrier between life and death. No one else will have to lose their family. No one will ever have to say goodbye. I appreciated the logic that had drawn her in, the promise of ending death's tyranny, of reuniting sundered families. But in her eyes, I saw the price. Humanity traded for power, love corrupted by obsession. The thing she'd become wasn't my sister anymore, just as the shadows wearing our parents' faces in her memories weren't them. That's not what they'd want, I said, thinking of family dinners, of Dad's terrible jokes, of Mom's garden, of Annie's laugh before grief hollowed her out. That's not what you want. Her face contorted, the features sliding like oil on water. Then why did you come? To bring you home, I answered simply. I pulled out the old photo I'd carried since the crash. Our family at the lake, all of us laughing. Annie taught me to skip stones, and Mom and Dad watched from the dock. Her form flickered at the sight, something human bleeding through her transformed state. The train let out a piercing screech, its metal frame contorting as the fabric of reality rippled against itself. The other passengers lunged forward, their combined mass threatening to drown us in supernatural flesh. But Annie moved faster, shoving me toward the door. Her voice was her own again, just for a moment. The voice that had sung me to sleep after nightmares, that had promised everything would be okay after the crash. I chose this, but you can choose differently. Live, brother. Live for both of us. The door burst open and I fell, tumbling through gaps and voids. I hit the station platform hard, concrete cracking beneath me. When I glanced up, the train was already fading, Annie's face watching from a window that rippled like disturbed water. I love you, she mouthed, just before the train vanished into mist that rapidly dissipated, leaving behind only the scent of summer flowers and engine grease. I found myself alone on the platform, clutching the family photo. But something had changed. In the image, Annie's eyes now held a faint, ghostly glow, a reminder that some doors, once opened, can never fully close. The station still stands, its platform waiting in eternal midnight. Sometimes I hear the whistle, calling to those marked by death's near miss. But I don't answer. Some prices are too high, even for answers, even for love. Annie's journal sits in my desk drawer. On nights when the whistle echoes across Raven's Valley, its pages glow with the same sickly light I saw in the train's windows. Inside, her final entry has changed, continuing beyond what she wrote. The train offers power over death, but death isn't meant to be conquered. It's meant to give life meaning. Choose life, dear brother. Choose it every day. That's the only way to truly cheat death, to live so fully it can never truly win. I've pasted warning signs around the old station, though most ignore them. To ordinary eyes, it's just another abandoned relic of a bygone era. But survivors know better. We recognize each other by the haunted look in our eyes, the invisible scars left by death's near embrace. When I meet them, I share Annie's last message. Some listen, others don't. The train calls to them anyway, offering power, transformation, and reunion with lost loved ones. On quiet nights, I sometimes catch glimpses of the train through my window, running on tracks that no longer exist. In its windows, faces press against the glass. Passengers who chose power over humanity, transformation over acceptance. Annie is among them, part of something boundless and terrible and eternal. Sometimes she waves, and for a moment I see my sister again, before the thing she's become bleeds through. But in the photo on my wall, she's still just my sister, laughing at the lake on a perfect summer day. That's how I choose to remember her. That's how I choose to live. Some doors should stay closed. Death may be a bitter companion, But it's what makes us human, what makes life precious, what makes love worth the pain of loss. The whistle calls again, distant but growing closer. Tonight, somewhere, another survivor will face their choice. Another soul will stand on that platform, tempted by promises of power over death itself. I pray they choose life, choose their humanity, choose the bittersweet gift of mortality that makes every moment matter. My sister chose differently, but her final gift was showing me why I shouldn't follow. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Thank you for watching.